Hello guys, this is Naya Dojens, and on today's tutorial I'm going to be showing you how to make a shirt, a cuff and a collar of a shirt. Without wasting much of your time, let's get started. So this is the fabric we're using. This is our bottom side and this is going to be our back side. Now this is the up and that's the down. Okay, so now this has been done, we're going to mark out our button, where our button is going to stay. So for me, I'm using it 2 inches for my button allowance. Okay, so now that I've gotten that, I've rolled that out and I'm going to pin it down like so that when I'm cutting it, I don't cut out or miss out on my button allowance. Now after I've pinned it out, I'm now going to fold it again. At this point, it's fold into 4. So the upper part is my front and the down part is my back panel. Then I'm going to get my shoulder allowance, my shoulder measurement, and mark it across. Then my armhole to my armhole depth, which is 9 inches for my armhole depth. Now once I've done that, marked my shoulder allowance and my armhole depth, I'm going to roll it like so, just to get my armhole slope and curve. So after I've done this, I want to curve out the armhole depth like so. Now on this part, I'm going to go down by 1 inch for my shoulder slope. Okay, I've gone down by 1 inch for my shoulder slope. I'm marking it out. Then moving ahead, I'm marking my neck width as 3 inches. I'm going to mark 3 inches, 3 inches. I'm just trying to make a straight line. Then my neck depth for my front part is also 3 inches. I'm marking it out just to square out that point. Now once I've done this, I just ruled it out like so. Now for my front depth, my front depth is 3 inches, but my back depth is 1 inches, and that is what I'm marking right now. Then I'm going to curve out the neck curve and all. So now this is what it is at this point. Then I'm going to connect my shoulder slope to the width of my neck like so. Then at this point, I'm cutting that out. You want to cut out your armhole curve and all. Then I'm going to go ahead. I went ahead to cut out my shoulder slope as well. Now on this shoulder slope, because my fabric is it's folded into 4, so I'm cutting both my front and my back panel. But firstly, I'll have to cut my back panel. As you can see, I cut it out, then I trimmed out every excesses on my shoulder slope. Then I'm going to push away my back panel and just cut only the front, because the front neck depth is deeper than the back neck depth. Okay, so now at this point, you want to get your breast measurement. For me, I usually do not make my shirt to be fitted. I usually add 3 inches just to have some freeness on my shirt. Then I'm going to mark that way all the way down. But if you want yours to give you fitting at your waist area, then you should mark out your waist area as well. But for me, I just want this to be a free shirt, and that's it. Now on this down part, I do not want a basic or a simple shirt, so I just went in with my pattern master and give it a curve at the hemline of my shirt. Now at this point, our shirt is getting its form and shape. Okay, so now for my front panel, I want to go in on divide my shoulder, my armhole depth into 2, and then go in by ½ an inch just to give it a curve and remove every excesses on my on the chest area of this shirt. Okay, I don't want any excesses to be there. That is why I'm going in by ½ inch at the center point of my shoulder to armhole depth. So now I'm folding in my button allowance in just to be in place and give it a good press. At this point, I've given it a good press, and I'm going to be joining my shoulder of my front to my shoulder of my back. At this point, I'm placing right side against each other. So at this point, I've already joined it together. Okay, these are just basic knowledge of how to join your shirt or your fabric together. And I'm going to get my round of my neck from as I've joined everything together. Whatever I have, or whatever you have, you're going to be marking 1 inch for it on your paper stay. This is my paper stay. This not the very soft one, the medium one, not the very hard one as well. But whichever interfacing you want to use is okay by you. You can go ahead with that. So once I've gotten my 1 inch first, which is going to be the down part of our collar, I'm going to get the upper part, which is the bigger one. For me, I'm making use of a 3 inches upper part, but you can make yours 3.5 or so, depending on how big you want it to be. Now that I've gotten it and they are both equal, and you know they are not both equal, the bigger one is actually has a slanted and is shorter than the smaller one by 1 inch. So now I've marked out my 1 inch after giving it a fold. Then I'm going to connect it to this part like so. Now once you have connected it to this part like so, you're going to come in at the middle point on the folded part and go down by 1/2 inch. Now that 1/2 inch, you want to connect it. You can see that where I'm placing my pattern master is not touching the edge of this pattern. It's just going to stop somewhere in. This is just to give it a fine curve at the hem area of this the hem area of your collar, just to give it this curvy, so it sits very well at the back of your neck. So now this is what it looks like, the upper part and the down part. Our collar is semi-ready. Now you want to go ahead to get your armhole, cut out your sleeve. Sorry, I did not do my sleeve, show you how I cut my sleeve, because I wanted this video to be short as possible. So now once I've done that, I'm going to go over to my cuff. Now the cuff is where the band that is holding your sleeve, the long sleeve, together. So for me, I'm making use of an 8.5 inches. I don't want mine to be too tight. I told you this is a big shirt. I want it to be a big shirt on me. So now after I've done that, I've made 2 pieces for this. Now for this part, you can see that on this place where I've ironed it, I made a fold on it. Then this other part, the down part, is longer than it. So just take a look at how I iron this, then do same for yours. Then this is my upper part of my collar. I'm going to be sewing it by the side of this our interfacing, which is the paper stay. You're not adding sewing allowance to that. This is just to give it freeness. Now on this one, the one that the paper stay is for the shorter part or the smaller part of our collar, you can see I made a fold just like I did for the cuff. Okay, just look at the way I ironed mine and do the same for yours as well. Sorry, I did not make a video on when I was ironing it. Now that I've done this, I'm just showing you how close I sewed this to my fabric. Like I did not add any sewing allowance. You want to sew the exact measurement or the exact side of your paper stay. You don't want to sew outside of it. You want to sew, if it's possible, sew on top of it, but do not leave any sewing allowance. Do not shorten it or do not increase it. Then you're going to use your scissors or whatever to poke and make sure every pointed edge is well pointed and doesn't pull out. Can you see the way I sewed? I sewed exactly on the paper stay. I did not add any allowance to it. Then I'm going to be cutting it out before I take it to my pressing iron. And you have to cut out every sewing allowance, any bulky sewing allowance you have to cut. And on this part that we curved or we cut in at the hem line, you want to notch on it so that when you flip it over, you'll be able to give it a flat edge. Yeah, you want to achieve a flat edge on this. So now once you've done this, I've taken them all to my pressing iron and I've given it a good press, as you can see. Now we want to join our collars together, like we want to make a collar to be one. Now this place that the paper stay is, you're going to be placing paper stay to paper stay. I've gotten the center of my bigger one. I also want to get the center of this smaller one. And mind you, for this smaller one, you're getting the center from where your paper stay is, not from the allowance on the fabric, but the center point of the paper stay. Remember, the paper stay is the main collar, not the fabric itself. The paper stay is the main size of the collar. So now that I've gotten, you're putting your paper stay to your paper stay, like the part that your paper stay is, you want to tack it together with the side the paper. Can you see this is where the paper stay is? So I'm pinning it together. Then the other part, I'm also going to pin the other one to the other place that the paper stay is not on. Okay, so this is how you're going to join your collar together. So now that you've done this, I'm going to pin the center point as well, just to make sure that it doesn't shift. And I'm just arranging it at this point. So now that you've gotten it, you have both sewing allowance in. You're going to be sewing it round from here. You're not touching from here first. Then you're going to join it all the way. Also maintaining the paper stay. You don't want to sew more than your paper stay. Neither do you want to sew or shorten your paper stay, or do you want to sew and add to your paper stay. Remember the paper stay we cut earlier, that is the size and the shape of your collar. It's not going to be bigger than that, and it's not going to be smaller than that. At this point, I was showing that if you want to give a curve at this area, you could give, but me, I'm not giving a curve at all. Your paper stay that you cut earlier is the size and shape of your collar. You don't want to add any, even if you're infusing your paper to it, that is the shape you want. Now at this point, I've given it a good press and it's flat and all. One thing about making a shirt, you must work with your pressing iron together. Now this is my cuff and I've done that so far and it's looking good. Now let me show you how you're going to attach your cuff to your this. Now at this point, this place that is deeper is the front. Your opening at your shirt or your long sleeve is usually at the back part of your sleeve. Now this back part, I went in by 3 inches, and on these 3 inches I'm going to mark a straight line using my pattern master to achieve a straight line. Now on this straight line I'm going to go up by 5 inches. That is how deep I want, or the length I want the opening at my sleeve to be. So then I'm going to cut through and stop exactly at that 5 inch. Okay, now this part is at the back part of your sleeve. When you're cutting your sleeve from your basic sleeve pattern, you know that the front sleeve and the back sleeve has a slight difference on the slope on top of it, at the top arm of your sleeve. Now let's move ahead. At this point, to pipe the opening place, you need 4 pieces. Now 2 to be small and the other 2 to be big. Now this is the small ones and these are the big ones for the flap. Now for this small one, you're placing the right side of the small one on the net of your sleeve, which is the down part or the back part of your sleeve. The right side is under the back part of your sleeve. Then you're going to be stitching it not up to half an inch. Now this stitch you're sewing right now, please take note of this stitch because this stitch is going to be very important, or the position of this stitch. Okay, so now once you've done that, you're going to make a notch. Now this notch is going to is just for you to be able to flip it over like this. Now once you've flipped it over like this, you're going to be top stitching it on the side of your of the small piece of fabric. Can you see what it is now? At this point, you want to fold in this part like this. And now when you fold in this part, now remember that stitch I told you to make note of. You want to place, when you're folding, you want to sew exactly on that stitch. You don't want to sew it outside, or you don't want to overlap it outside of that stitch. You want to sew it exactly on that stitch. That is the reason why I say you should take note of that stitch. Now you're going to take it in like this and sew it exactly on that first stitch I told you to take note of. Now once you've done that, you're going to sew all the way down. Okay, now this is what it looks like. It's exactly on that stitch. Can you see from the back part? You're going to know if you actually joined it on that exact stitch. Now going further, I'm going further with the bigger one. You're also going to be placing the right side of this piece, this bigger piece, to the back under of your sleeve. And also make note that I also make available that the upper part of it, like you can see, it comes up than the down part. I'm going to show you what I mean by that. Now also take note of this stitch you just joined this fabric together. Take note of it because you'll be needing it. Now on this part, you're not going to be top stitching on this flap. This is going to be the flap to cover that button area. Okay, you're going to be doing the top stitch on the sleeve itself. Okay, so now that you've done that, this is what it looks like. And then at this point, you should take it to your pressing iron to press these points together, because this is the bigger part, it's not the small part. Now you're going to fold it like this to cover up the stitch on that side. Okay, you're going to cover up the stitch on that side, and then you can see that the upper part of this sleeve is bigger like this. That's why I say that the down part of this flap has to be shortened, then this other part has to come up. Let me make note of that. So now we're going to stitch on this other side after giving it a good press. Okay, so now once you've done that, you want to tuck in this side inside it, not outside. You see, you don't want to keep it outside, you want to keep it inside, so that this other big part is going to cover it. Then once you stitch on the other side, then you want to close it up on this side. Now on this side, making sure you've tucked in this smaller part inside, you're going to go down like half an inch from where the smaller part is stopping, down half an inch. Then you make a bust like you can see me do. Okay, so as you can see, we have covered up that part, everywhere looking clean and fresh. Now to complete our sleeve, we want to sew to an extent. Did you see what I did? I did not sew the sleeve completely. Now we want to put our cuff to it. Now how do you do that? You're going to start from the big side. You see, you're starting from the big side. Now because the sleeve I didn't show you guys how to cut the sleeve, but the wrist of your sleeve is going to be bigger than the cuff. So now once you have started from the big side, you're going to sew like 1 inch, then you stop. Did you see what I did? They are now going to take it back to the smaller parts of it. Okay, now on this smaller part, you're going to sew to complete the sleeve, the cuff. Now once you start sewing, and remember that you're sewing it from the part where the paper stay is not on. Yes, you're joining it with the part where the paper stay is not on. Where the paper stay is usually on the front side. I don't know if you get what I'm trying to say, but I'm just zooming this in. So you see, because I'm sewing this from the back of my sleeve, not the front. So once you flip this open, it's going to be on the paper stay side, is going to be on the front. So now this is the allowance that is remaining. Now you want to squeeze, not like actually squeeze, you want to make a plinth of it. Did you see what I'm doing? You want to make a plinth of it like this, so that it's going to match with the cuff. Then you cover and complete it to meet where you did that. So that 1 inch on the bigger part of, or the facing of the bigger part. Okay, so now once you have done this, this is what it's going to look like when you move it out to the front. Let me show you. You see, now this place that has the paper stay is on the front. So now you want to sew it all through, like the four corners of the cuff. Okay, so you tuck in everything inside. You see how the sleeve is coming out. I have not stitched it yet, but you can see the plinth that is here. So that's how it's done. So now I'm not going to cover it up by sewing it on the edges. And please make sure this stitch you're sewing with is very neat, because this is the part people are going to be seeing. Okay, tucking in everything, making sure that everything is clean and you are not making it too big, like the stitch allowance is not too big. Don't forget to subscribe, like, share, give a comment. If you have any question, please put it on the comment section. I'll be there to answer you as quick as possible as I can. Thank you. This is what our sleeve is looking like. I've done the second one. I just wanted to show you guys I've done the second one. Now to attach this to our shirt, you want to know where is the front part of the sleeve and where is the back. And another way to know is where the cuffling is usually the back. The cuffling is at the back side of your shirt. Okay, so now I'm notching from the center point of. If you don't understand it, just let me know in the comment section. Okay, so now I'm starting from the center. I usually start from the center so that everything falls in its position. Yeah, and then I'm going to come over to the other center part to stitch the back part of it as well, so that everything falls in its right place. So at this point we have attached our sleeve, and then is remaining our collar. Now for the collar, you want to take the middle point of your neck. Yeah, now you're also going to look at the middle point. We're going to be notching into the middle point of our sleeve. I've already joined this part, and one thing you should know is that, look at, I've joined it already. The paper stay part is usually at the inside of the shirt. Okay, so when you're joining this together, you're joining together from the front, then this paper stay part is at the inside, which is the back side of the shirt. So now once I've done this, I'm going to be stitching this round. Yeah, I'm just showing you what it looks like. You can see that this is the inside, the wrong side of the shirt. At this point, I've finished doing everything. I had intention of making this video short, but I believe everything is understood. It's just you joining your collar to the neckline. Okay, once this is done, this is what our shirt is looking like already. You cut out every thread that is standing out, and the one thing you should know that the button on a female shirt are usually on the left hand side, while that for the male is on the right hand side. Okay, this is just how to do that. Now for the hemming, we are going to shirt hemming line, or the hem of a shirt is not big, so we are going to go in with 1/2 inch and just fold it in, then sew it round. Okay, so that is what it is. If you have any question, just let me know. I've just shown you here that the left hand side is where our button is going to be, and then this front, the right part, is going to be covering the shirt.